Okay, I figure I should probably do a review on this bike now that I've had it for a little over 1,000 kilometers, actually a little over 1,500 kilometers. So check me out when I get to the 1,000 kilometer mark. We're cruising up on 1,000 kilometers on the KLX300. We got 9s on the dash. There it is, 1,000. Woo! We are the Voodoos wearing, Kawasaki riding, punk rocking, son of a gun. Woo! So I crossed the 1,000 kilometer mark, and I think it's only right that I talk about why this bike was such an awesome decision and why maybe you should buy one too. As a disclaimer, I am not being paid for this. It's only my complete and honest bias opinion. So first of all, I've absolutely had the most fun ever on this bike. But here's the thing, I don't have experience on any other bikes like cruisers, Harleys, sport bikes, anything like that. So, like I said, it's gonna be a bit biased. Just to get all the negative Nelly shit out of the way, some of the complaints that I had heard online before I actually pulled the trigger and bought the bike was that the foot pegs were way too small. They seemed like they were a little small when you compare them to any other bikes, or any other style of bike I should say. But honestly, they haven't been bad for me. I've found them super comfortable. Maybe it's because I don't know the luxury of having big, fat, comfortable ones, but these ones have been great. The only time they've been uncomfortable, which I will admit, and it's not a common occurrence, but it's when I wear a pair of Converse Chuck Taylors. Normally I wear a pair of like SBs, or I wear actual motorcycle shoes, boots, whatever you want to call them. And I wore a couple pairs of Jordans that I don't really care that much about getting creased up, but those ones are totally fine in all honesty. So I don't know what the big deal is with the foot pegs, but they've been fine. If that's something that's a concern for you at all, just ignore it. It's not real. That's just, you're fine, honestly, you really are. Another complaint that I heard quite often was that the seat's uncomfortable. Well, again, I gotta say, I have no experience on anything aside from dual sports, but these seats are fine. I'm good. I've been good. I haven't changed out the seat whatsoever. When I did my motorcycle safety course, I was on a dual sport, and I was fine with those 2 long 8-hour days. I've taken this on a 7-hour ride. I've taken this on a 5-hour ride, with the exception of stopping for fuel. Those were non-stop rides, and I never had even a slight issue at all. I was comfortable the entire time. Another complaint that I heard all the time was it felt underpowered. Yeah, you know what? I will admit that once you kind of get your bearings and you're a little bit more confident on a motorcycle, or if you're already at that point and you're just looking for another bike, you might feel like this is lacking power, more so in the on the streets sort of situations like I'm in now. Then you can definitely see that it would be a tiny bit underpowered for what someone might want. Honestly, it's fine. It's had great pickup in the city and everything like that. It's not a highway bike, that's all. At least not for long stints. Another complaint that I heard quite a bit was the rear fender was absolutely disgusting, which is why I swapped it out. I agreed with that one wholeheartedly, that the rear fender was disgusting. So I got an eliminator. I chose the TST Industries one. I found it tucked everything up nice. It was super easy, plug and play to use, so you didn't have to screw around rewiring a bunch of nonsense and using a bunch of, you know, experience that you don't have. So that was good. I like it. It looks significantly better now. Another complaint was that the exhaust was no good. Well, I don't know, it seemed to perform fine, I guess. I don't know, it was nothing special to write home about, but it was absolutely hideous, and it was kind of, I don't know, nerdy to look at with the big heat shield on it, and also the tiny little hole that you could barely stick like a fucking Sharpie in. It looked a little silly. So I swapped that out, and I went with the 14-inch Delcovic oval exhaust, which you can see me install. The link will be down below if you're curious on what that looks like, how it compared to the stock one, and how to install it. And now for some of the positive things. This bike has shown itself to be, let's call it a Jeep on 2 wheels. Basically, I've been able to go anywhere and do anything. I've even gotten myself in a little bit of trouble on the trails, but it's crazy good for just bombing around town And like I said earlier, it is a little underpowered, but in the city you're fine. You're just, for stop and go, it's great. Honestly, there's been no issues with that. If you're a beginner at all, this bike is super light, so it's easy to move around and get out of sticky situations. It's super easy to maneuver. Now, I am 6'3" and I'm about 205 pounds. I am a light heavyweight champion. So when I'm sitting on it, I am able to flat foot incredibly comfortably. If you're shorter or maybe weigh a decent amount less, you might not be in the same position I am. That might be a consideration, is how tall the bike is, because it is quite tall for anyone that might be, say, 5'8" or 5'9", 10, somewhere in that area. It might be a tiny bit tall for you. One compliment I can definitely give this thing is the clutch is super responsive. Like, the friction zone is like, it's very grabby and comfortable. I don't even have to be on the throttle much at all in order to kind of take off. I can just ease out on the clutch and I'll get moving. And like I said a million times now, I don't have experience with other bikes, so I don't know if they're all like that or if that's just, you know, the usability of one of these. But anyway, it's super easy. I love it. It's definitely one I would recommend. It seems very sturdy built too. I've seen complaints about the handlebars not being super strong in the event of a drop or anything like that, which I've yet to find out. I've dropped this twice. Once at literally, I wasn't even on the bike. I wasn't even moving. I was trying to get up a hill, so I was standing to the side of it. And the other time I was going down a hill about 2 kilometers per hour. So I've never really dropped it truthfully. So yet to see that. As you can see, the clutch bent when I dropped it the one time. Fun little fact too, by the way, I work in the car business, and although I don't work for Honda, I do get employee pricing at Honda, and I was able to get a CRF300L for about $1,500 less. So like, I wouldn't have had any markup on the car, and I wouldn't have to pay all that dealership bullcrap. If you know, you know. So I wouldn't have had to cover any of that kind of stuff. And yet I still chose the green machine, even though I had to pay full price for this at a point when no inventory is available. So that will tell you the how good I think that this bike is, that this was still the one I chose, even though the bike's only, I think I spent, geez, I don't even think it was $10,000 taxes included, this thing. And it would have been a little bit less for a Honda CRF 300L, but I still chose this one because I like the green. I like the classic look to it. It's just wicked. If you're considering a dual sport, this is the one I would consider. Honest opinion. The one I did my motorcycle course on was a Yamaha XT250, which was definitely fun, but it was not one I would ever consider riding again. If you've ever done the course, you know you don't get up very fast, so it had plenty of power for that, but it was just an ugly bike. It wasn't super responsive. It was clunky. I've heard that that's just a Yamaha thing, but I don't know. Don't have any experience in any others. But anyway, like I said, this has been my review. It's been fantastic. It's never let me down once. I've never had an issue with the battery draining. I've never had an issue where I can't figure out the controls. The throttle seems perfectly responsive. Like, I think it's supposed to be able to move, you know, a few millimeters. That's normal. Same with the brakes. Like, you can maybe hear it click. So right there. So that's the play, which I think is a normal. Same with the clutch. Overall, fantastic. If I could change anything, I think I'm going to change out these mirrors soon. Although they work, they're functional. They look over my shoulders incredibly well. I don't like the shape of them. They look like little grasshopper antennas, especially with a green bike. So I'm probably going to swap these out for the ones that come on a supermoto like this. They just look a little cooler, in my opinion. Honestly, if you're considering a bike and you have, you know, less than 10 grand to spend, this is the one. I bought it brand spanking new right out of the showroom, and it was like 10 grand taxes in. I think it was less than that. I feel like it might have only been 9, to be totally honest with you, taxes in. So that's the one to go for, man. I'm telling you, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this bike. Went all over the place, and will continue to.